Hello, friends.
Hello.
We were just chatting over there. We're like, this is a fun panel because we're among people that we get to talk to decently often. So thank you for being here, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So for those who don't know, these are two amazing candidates running for Congress. Will Rollins was actually our first investment in 2022 for WelcomePAC.
My stock was at an all-time low back then.
We believed in you.
That got 4 laughs.
You're doing great. And Will is running in California's 41st congressional district against Ken Calvert, one of our favorite boogeymen. And Janelle Bynum is running in Oregon's 5th congressional district against Lori Chavez DeRemer.
That's right.
And Lori is someone that Janelle has already beat before.
Twice. Not once, but twice. Ready to do it a third time.
So, Janelle, do you want to start us off with why you're going to beat her again?
Sure. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm State Representative Janelle Bynum, running in Oregon's 5th Congressional District. I'm a mom of 4, an electrical engineer, a local business owner, and a 4-term state legislator. And what I see on the docket is bringing an end to this chaos and someone who gets things done. As I mentioned, being a mom of 4, I'm really interested in making sure that our kids are launching into a world that is prepared for them and they're prepared for it. And if you leave with nothing else about me today, just know that I am the person that is very interested in matching talent with opportunity. We have a lot of rural kids, we have a lot of urban kids, minority kids, black, brown, doesn't matter what color, that really just need a shot. And imagine what your life would be like if you didn't have a shot. And imagine what your life would be like if you did have a shot. So that's what we're talking about in Oregon 5. We're focusing on the environment. Oregon is the home of lots of wildfires. We are also the home of a big tech industry. We're home to issues about immigration, to issues about housing, to issues about the environment and the economy. So that's what I'm running on, and I'm so excited to be here today.
I love how you framed it, talent and opportunity, because to be honest, I feel like y'all are both candidates that are bringing the talent to the opportunity to flip a district. Like, honestly, right? Your district is a Biden district technically, but it's one that is held by a Republican. And so both of you guys are taking on Republicans to flip districts blue, but it's really not just about, it can be anybody. It has to be a unique talent, right? So Will, do you want to talk more about why you think your unique positioning as a candidate in this district will help you beat Calvert this time?
Yeah, and I want to start just by thanking WelcomePAC and you, Lauren, and Janelle, and Congressman Golden. I love the concept of WelcomeFest, and I think this concept is what helps us flip purple seats. It helps us win the middle. I think everybody in this room, and I'm around events in my own district, I ask how many people have a split family, Republicans and Democrats in your family. You go to Thanksgiving, you used to be able to laugh, have a beer, and disagree about policy without hating each other. And I think that we've entered a political climate since 2016 that has become increasingly divided, and that ultimately prompted us to get into these competitive congressional races because we believe that America is about more than one person. We believe that our political parties are at their best when we can disagree civilly with each other, and that's how we get the best policy. And Democrats aren't 100% right on every issue, and Republicans aren't right 100% of the time on every issue. And if you don't have that kind of civil, constructive debate to be able to disagree with one another with humor, which is how I started my job as a lifelong Democrat working for a Republican governor in California, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I always share this story. I went recently to a Schwarzenegger alumni reunion event. I was one of the only Democrats in Sacramento at this event. One of the other ones was Willie Brown. And they shared a story about Willie and Arnold's relationship, which I love. And it was Arnold calling up Willie, and he says, "Willie, I'm going to run in the recall election in California." And they had been friends for a long time. And Willie's like, "That's great, Arnold. You go get him, buddy. Good luck." So Arnold goes on Leno, announces that he's running in the recall election. Willie Brown calls a press conference the next day, puts on a black jacket and sunglasses, and says, "We got to terminate the Terminator." So Arnold calls up Willie and he's like, what the hell, man? I thought you had my back. And Willie's like, Arnold, this is politics, baby. You got a lot to learn. So fast forward 6 months, Arnold wins the recall election, reaches back out to Willie Brown and asks him to run his economic recovery team. And Willie Brown agrees. And that is the kind of sense of humor, of spirit of country over party that I think Americans are craving now more than ever. And I think with that attitude, we're going to flip a lot of seats in the House.
Hear, hear with that one, right? Flipping some seats in the House this year. You said something before. I was laughing thinking about the food fight that is going to commence at some dinner tables this year at Thanksgiving. Anyway, I was going to ask you, so you're running in a blue state, straight up, right? What is it like to work to win over Republicans who are living in California's 41st to vote for you as a Democratic candidate?
I mean, I talk about my bio, I talk about my family, I talk about my Republican grandparents, you know, whose political heroes were Dwight Eisenhower and Ronald Reagan and John McCain, who taught me as a kid that, you know, being a Republican meant you stood for smaller government, personal responsibility, law and order, and standing up to Russia. And I think so many Republicans in my district can relate to that version of the party, of traditional conservatism that I think no longer exists, as Congressman Golden was just talking about in many ways, in that particular party anymore. And I think as somebody who worked in law enforcement alongside Republicans and Democrats, where the mission was just about protecting our communities, that resonates with a lot of voters. And I think so many people are disenchanted with Washington right now that there is a type of populist anger out there that more of us as candidates need to tap into by talking about reforming Congress itself. That's why I campaign on term limits. I campaign on banning members of Congress from trading stock. I campaign on a lifetime ban of lobbying by former members of Congress, which is going to make me super popular with my future colleagues. But I think that people are craving an answer to the anger that's out there right now and the division, and we need to tap into that by talking about fixing the system itself, and that resonates with independents, moderate Republicans, Democrats, doesn't matter what party you belong to, they just want to see some change. And I'm sure, Janelle, maybe you've been experiencing the same sense on the ground in Oregon.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I have 4 kids, and the youngest is Asa, he's 13. And one of the challenges that we've faced in our home is this idea of hustle. So my husband, after watching him in a basketball game one day, went out and bought a shirt that said talented but lazy. And it hangs in the closet. We won't get rid of it, no matter how big he gets. But the point of that is the lesson that we were trying to explain to my son was that you got to have a little bit of hustle in life. And so that's what I'm bringing to this race, and that is what is reaching across the aisle to, you know, to Republican voters, to independent voters, and also, of course, to Democratic voters, is that you got to have some hustle. You got to have a spirit of wanting to do the work and actually delivering on the results. It's not just enough to run for office. Like, sure, you know, this can be a real ego stroke if that's your thing. But the real meat of it all is, are you bringing things home for the district? Do you understand what it's like for a person to go to work and have this much left over? And is that the American dream that we want people to buy into? No, that's not. So you gotta wake up and you gotta hustle. And that's what I think Congress needs to have a little bit more of. And also our state legislatures, I'm just gonna say that. I've sat and watched some people be very comfortable, but it is really about the hustle, the drive, the spirit of American ingenuity. As an engineer, it's really important to me for government to be an engine of innovation. I'll share one quick story. My daughter, who was working through the pandemic, she's now 22, she was really upset about the prices of things, including gas, and she was working at the grocery store. So what she did was she got so angry. She's like, Mom, I just can't believe all these companies are making all this money. And I was like, well, you got to figure out how to make money yourself. And so she used Cash App to start buying stocks. And she was buying like $1. She was buying small amounts, but it was a shift in her mindset formed by a little bit of hustle and innovation. And that, to me, is the message that Democrats like us can bring, if you can marry talent and opportunity.
I love that. She's innovative like her mama, right? And last question before we wrap, but I just wanted to ask, you guys are knocking doors, and what voters are really concerned about. Do you want to talk about maybe some of the things, even surprising to you, maybe that you've been hearing that people are kind of deeply concerned about in our country right now?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know if this surprises me, but I think as a party, we need to lean in on immigration, crime, the economy. And in swing districts, that's what voters care about. My mission for running relates very much to the threats to democracy, help prosecute some of the people who attacked the US Capitol on January 6th, got pissed off at Ken Calvert after he voted to decertify the election. That is why I'm running. But we also have to have an answer to everyday kitchen table problems where Republicans think they have the high ground. And to reach moderate Republicans that are gettable in a big tent welcome party, right? And on immigration in particular, which is gonna, I think, become an issue that we're gonna see at the top of the ticket, talk about more and more, we have to remind voters that there would have been the toughest bipartisan border security bill in a generation were it not for the MAGA caucus in the House of Representatives and in the US. The US Senate tried to get it done. The vice president tried to get it done, but it was killed by a nominee who wanted to use immigration as a political football, and we have to stop sending people to Washington, D.C. who are fundraising off a problem rather than actually solving it. So I would say that's an example of one of these kitchen table issues where we gotta lean in.
So our issue in Oregon is choice. Like, we are hardcore on choice, and that is across the political spectrum. And I just came from an opportunity to talk with some people here, and they also mentioned that they're girl dads, right? So the choice issue is not just on women's minds, it's also on men's minds. And this same 22-year-old daughter is planning to become a dentist, and she was looking at dental schools. And she was trying to decide where, she would apply, and she was talking with her girlfriends. And who knew that 22-year-old girls were making decisions on the next stage of their life, where they were going to go to school based on where their reproductive health choices were protected. That's real. New York Times also reported that young women, and even some young men, were making choices based on where they were going to practice medicine, based on where reproductive rights were protected. So across the spectrum, I made a phone call and talked to a woman who's a Mormon. She was in her house by herself, and she was still whispering to me, she's a Republican woman, still whispering to me, Janelle, I'm worried about my girls. So those are the things that are bringing, people across, all across the political spectrum over to my side and sharing with me that's not the top of the ticket for them, that's not the issue, but that's the issue that flips them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Janelle, Will, thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate your candidacies. Guys, give some money to these two.
JanelleBynum.com.
So we're going to take a brief 10-minute break. Get up, move around, shake it off. And then we're going to come back, and Millen's going to kick us off for the next segment. So thank you, guys.